Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Maze Runner. So what is The Maze Runner? The Maze Runner is about a group of boys who are stranded in this maze. And this boy, because every month a new person is released into the maze. And this new boy was just released, and he finds out that about these group of kids that have been running in the maze for 3 years. Now, not all of them run into the maze. There's actually a selected group of them who do run into the maze and come out every day, because at night something happens. They don't know what, because none of them have been into the maze during the night, and the ones who have never lived to talk about it. So this boy named Thomas tries to go into the maze one day, and he learns what lies within there at night. And as soon as he does that, things begin to change, and change for the good or the better. That depends on how things continue. So what did I think about this movie? First of all, I want to say the kid actors in this movie were really good. I thought all of them did a really good job. Dylan O'Brien, who plays the main kid, Thomas, he does a really good job. And I didn't know anything about this kid before. I looked up him on IMDb, and I know he did Teen Wolf. I never watched the show, so forgive me for not knowing too much about him. But from what I saw, he did do a really good job pulling this movie and making it, leading it in a good way. There's a few other recognizable kids that I recognize. I don't remember their names right now. That kid from Narnia and We're the Millers, he was in here, and he did a really good job at playing the... He's kind of like a supervisor, not a supervisor, but the one who's trying to keep things under control, because he's been running the joint for a long time now. And when Thomas comes, Thomas starts changing things, and this kid isn't too happy about it. And I thought he did a really good job. And then we have Newt from that kid from Game of Thrones, who, for some reason, I always thought he would be a pretty good Peter Pan. For some reason, if they ever make a Peter Pan movie, I think he should play Peter Pan, because I don't know why. I just see him as Peter Pan, but I don't know. I don't remember what his name was in Game of Thrones, but I just called him the kid that died, that I never remembered his name. Yeah, all the kids did a really good job. I think they all did a really good job. The action in this movie is really intense. Seriously, especially when they go into that maze, when we see Thomas go into the maze for the first time, it gets really intense in that maze. I'm gonna tell you, this movie can be pretty dark. The story is really dark. But there are moments that you think that these characters could die. And to me, that's really good. It keeps you at the edge of your seat, and it keeps you interested in what's going on. Obviously, there are a lot of problems with this movie. Not too much, but there are a couple of plot holes. I'm gonna say that. And it's kind of sad, because the movie does a really good job at entertaining you. And I think some plot holes you can forgive them and let them slide. But a lot of them are just, for an example, they mention very early on in the beginning that no one has ever entered the maze and ever survived to talk about it. Once you're in and you're locked in at night, no one's ever survived the night to come out and talk about what happens in there at night, because they think the maze changes around. And we find out some things that I'm not gonna spoil, but we find out that there's these creatures called the Grievers, and all of a sudden, when Thomas survives the first night and comes out to talk about it with everybody, all of a sudden they have this name for these creatures, and they call them the Grievers. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, how come you guys have these names for these creatures already if none of you even knew about it? Okay. But, that's just some of the things you're gonna have to let slide, I guess. But it does bug you a little bit when thinking about it and asking yourself more questions. along the way that I'm not going to reveal because a lot of them are very spoiler territory. But that's one that I'll tell you. But you know, I don't know. That's just the problems, I guess, with writing movies like this. You find yourself into a hole that you can't get out of, and I guess you hope the audience will forgive you. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions by the end of this movie. Some you can probably figure it out. A lot, though, it's like they're clearly at the end of this movie setting up for the sequel, but the way they set it up feels a little like a cop out, and for some reason I don't think a lot of those questions will be answered in a sequel if a sequel does happen. Personally, if they do make a sequel, I'd probably go and see it. I'd like to see where they're leading us and what some of these unanswered questions. I'd like to know if they'll be answered in a future film. So definitely curious to see where they'll take it. But yeah, I'm gonna say that is that this movie ends in a way where it definitely leaves you wanting more. It definitely leaves the doors open for a sequel. That's what I'll say. So, final thoughts on this movie. I'm going to say I gave this movie a 7 out of 10. I thought the movie was a lot of fun, very intense. It will definitely leave you hanging, wanting more, and it will also leave you hanging, asking yourself some questions about like certain plot holes. But if you can let that slide, I think you'll have a good time, and that's what the movie is. It's a good time at the theater. It's a lot like Lord of the Flies meets The Hunger Games. To me, it had that kind of element, that kind of feel, and I think yeah. So I'll recommend it for anybody that likes that kind of stuff. Definitely will enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. 7 out of 10. So yeah, guys, go and see it. Go check it out. The Maze Runner. It's definitely worth it.